The twilight plains of Nerith 9 hummed beneath my boots, a low vibration that made me wonder if the planet was purring or preparing to sneeze. My wrist scanner flickered uselessly, insisting the terrain ahead was both stable and unstable, which was the kind of contradiction that made me mutter jokes just so I wouldn't turn around and sprint back to the shuttle. I was still arguing with the scanner when I saw her, standing in the glow of the twin moons as if the light had been designed for her alone. She looked human at first glance, but her long, elegant ears lifted slightly when she noticed me, twitching like they were listening for frequencies my species hadn't unlocked yet. I froze, which was impressive considering how much my brain wanted to run diagnostics on my courage. She studied me with calm curiosity, the way a biologist might regard a very confused, slightly damp earthworm. Her eyes glowed softly, shifting hues in a way that made my heart forget its job for a second. I'd meant to say something official, something diplomatic, something that wouldn't embarrass the entire interstellar exploration corps. Instead, I blurted, "Your eyes are wow." Her ears flicked upright. She blinked. "Then stars help me." She smiled. Not the polite smile aliens usually give humans when we say something stupid, but a warm, almost shy smile that made me feel shorter than I already was. "My eyes?" she said, and her voice held a lilting resonance, like two tones layered together and trying to decide who gets to speak first. I scrambled for something to fix the situation, but the only words that came out were, "In my defense, they're very distracting." She laughed softly, a sound that shimmered in the air like a harmless energy ripple. "You are a strange one," she said, tilting her head as if examining a curious specimen. "But thank you." For a moment I thought that would be the end of it. She'd smile, nod politely, then vanish into the luminous grasses like a mirage. Instead, she stepped closer, her long ears dipping gracefully as she lowered her head slightly, not in deference but in invitation. "If you think my eyes are lovely," she said, "I have something even lovelier. Want to see?" Every survival instinct in me yelled that following an alien into unknown terrain after delivering the smoothest compliment in the galaxy was how horror reports got filed. But her expression held no trickery, only a quiet anticipation that tugged at me stronger than logic. "Does it involve venom? Hypnosis? Sudden combustion?" I asked. She laughed again, shaking her head. "Only wonder. And because curiosity has always been my worst and best trait." I nodded and followed her into the deepening violet dusk. She moved with an ease that made me suspect Nerith 9 had shaped itself to suit her steps. I, on the other hand, tripped over a rock that definitely hadn't been there a second earlier. She glanced back with a small grin, her long ears tilting forward like they were amused too. I tried to pretend I'd meant to do it, the way any professional explorer would, which only made her grin widen. The path she led me along wound between ridges of crystal-coated stone, each one reflecting the twin moons in fractured glimmers that danced with every shift of the wind. My scanner had given up on providing useful information and was now flashing a polite but judgmental unknown every few seconds. "Do you humans always talk to your devices?" she asked, watching as I thumped the scanner's side in a manner that had never once helped. "Only the ones that betray us," I said. "This one has been plotting for days." Her laugh floated back to me like a soft echo. "Perhaps it simply doesn't speak your language." "I've trained with 6 translation protocols," I said. "Pretty sure it dislikes me personally." Her ears flicked in amusement. She slowed her pace as the terrain opened into a narrow canyon where the air felt charged, almost anticipatory. Faint glows shimmered in the distance, drifting slowly like fireflies that had studied astrophysics and decided gravity was optional. The sight made me forget my jokes for a moment. "Those aren't going to explode, right?" "Not unless you insult their mothers," she said. I nodded gravely. "I'll be respectful." We climbed a low ridge, her steps light, mine sounding like someone had given boots to a malfunctioning refrigerator. At the top she paused, looking out over the valley, and her expression softened into something quiet and reverent. "This is the place," she murmured. "You may want to breathe deeply." I'd prefer instructions that don't imply danger, I said, but I obeyed anyway. She lifted her hand and whispered a word in her language. The sound was delicate, like wind touching glass, and the lights below responded instantly. They drifted upward, hundreds, no thousands, of floating orbs, each pulsing with color. They rose like a tide of living stars, swirling into shapes that felt almost intentional. Waves of violet curled around us, shifting to gold when she smiled, then flickering to a warm blue as she glanced at me. They react to emotion, she said softly. Ours specifically. Humans' emotions confuse them. Too many layers. Layers are part of our charm, I said, watching a cluster of lights flicker uncertainly at my voice. See? They adore me already. Her ears twitched. They're trying to decide if you're afraid or hungry. Honestly, same. She stepped closer, her gaze warm in the glow of the drifting lights. I brought you here because this place is not shown lightly. My people share it only with those we trust. The lights rippled gold, and for the first time that night I found myself quiet. The lights drifted around us like curious thoughts made visible, and I stood there wondering how a simple compliment had turned into this. Me on a ridge with an alien woman whose long ears caught every shimmer, whose presence felt like stepping into a gravity well I didn't mind being pulled toward. The colors swirled in slow, deliberate waves, responding to her calm breath and my extremely less calm attempts not to look like a startled mammal. When a cluster of lights flickered bright orange, she glanced at me with amusement. That means your heart is racing, she said. Impossible, I replied. My heart is a fine-tuned machine. The lights pulsed brighter. She raised a brow. A machine having a mild malfunction? A minor calibration issue. Her laugh sent ripples of silver through the field. She stepped closer, the lights shifting gently away from her as if making room. These lights see what we cannot always speak, she said. That is why we guard this place. To show someone this is to show them truth. She hesitated, her ears lowering slightly in something that looked like vulnerability. And I wished for you to see mine. For once, I didn't hide behind humor. Maybe the lights stole it from me. Maybe I'd simply run out of places to hide. Why me? I asked. Because your words were sincere, she said. Clumsy, but sincere. My people value what is unguarded. You approached me without fear, only wonder. I snorted. Oh, I had fear. It was just drowned out by my talent for saying questionable things. That is what made it honest. The lights shifted again, curling upward into a broad, warm glow that wrapped the ridge in color. We stood there in silence, letting the valley breathe around us. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel like a wanderer charting coordinates no one would ever read. I felt seen, deeply, almost uncomfortably seen, but strangely okay with it. She lifted her hand, palm upward, and a small sphere of light drifted into it like a tame star. Take this memory with you, she said. It will hold the colors of this night. When it dims, you will know I am thinking of you. My chest tightened. Is this where I'm supposed to say something poetic? You could, she said, but based on previous examples, perhaps keep it simple. I laughed, and the lights shimmered gold around us. I took the little sphere, its glow soft against my skin. Then I'll say this, I said. Meeting you changed the way I see things. She nodded gently. And you changed the way I am seen. We stood together a moment longer, the lights settling into a final, quiet bloom. When they receded back into the valley, she looked at me with that soft, shy smile that had started everything. Until our paths cross again, she whispered. When I finally walked back toward my shuttle, the sphere glowing faintly in my hand, I realized something rare had happened. I'd arrived as a scout searching for coordinates. I left carrying a truth someone had chosen to reveal. Something far more valuable than a map.